Good morning. My name is Brian Pingle, and these are my colleagues.
My name is Carolina Corrett.
My name is Adam Siegel.
My name is Scarlett Gillen. The historical aspect of digital technology is still developing, as we don't really have much of a background to go off of. We are making these things up as we go. 20 years ago, much of the technology we possess today didn't even exist. Now, in many public high schools across America, students have constant access to laptops, cell phones, and iPads. The students of the 90s couldn't have possibly fathomed such a change in the way high schools teach. So the question is, has digital technology significantly affected the way students learn? Here, you can see students from a generation ago studying. They are collaborating and using a textbook. Now, a student from today studying. She is alone, using only a laptop, which is causing her intense amounts of stress. Fun fact, the anxiety levels of high school students today are the same as insane asylum patients in the 1950s. What could this say about the effect of digital technology on developing minds? In this survey conducted by the Ruffalo Noel Levitz blog, you can see the differences in the way social media is utilized by high school seniors and their parents. This further proves the gap in the technology usage in this generation and the previous one. But it's not just studying that's being affected by digital technology in the classroom. Test scores have neither increased or decreased since the 90s, despite the implication of digital technology. In the satirical comic provided, students are so immersed in their technology that they're having trouble comprehending real words. While this is meant to be an exaggerated representation, it is definitely not a stretch from public high schools today. Adam?
As Scarlett mentioned, the education system in the past generation has changed greatly, and one of these major changes has come to the federal budget. Over the past 30 years, the American government has spent 375% more money on education than it once did. And despite this drastic increase, high school budgets today are becoming tighter and tighter as less money can be allocated to an individual student's needs. For example, Orange County Public Schools budgeted $47.7 million to digital technology in education, and $47.7 million in education and technology. And while this may seem like a lot, you should know that there are almost 24,000 teachers in Orange County and over 200,000 students. Desktops, laptops, TV video displays, and interactive whiteboards, which are all prevalent in high schools today, are accounted for in this budget. But what is also accounted for are teachers' phone systems, their projectors, the entire school's intercom system, which can be seen in every classroom in high schools. Also, many high schools, like the ones in Orange County, provide students with online resources, study materials, and services like Khan Academy, Pearson, Launchpad, and even a full unrestricted BrainPop account is given to students in Orange County, and that is something that the county has to pay for, and it comes out of their technology budget. So the problem for schools is that they need to find a way to reduce the costs in unused areas of their budget to make room, and the solution is to digitize everything. The first way to do this would be to use paperless alternatives, because unnecessary and excessive paper and printing use is one of the main costs for schools. And while some of you may think that it is impossible for a traditional high school like Nona to become completely digital, as Scarlett said, we are making things up as we go. So anything that is unprecedented can still be possible. Schools should also use applications to manage simple services. Business analysts recommend using applications to run the school bus system or the utilities like heating, cooling, and electricity. And finally, schools can use the cloud to organize financials and store information. This would mean that they would not have to print, file, and store thousands upon thousands of stacks of paperwork like high schools that do not use digital technology must do today. So the problem for schools is that they need to cut out the dispensable areas of their budget that require too much money, and then use that influx of capital to better the education and the technology used as they find more room in their budget.
Technology might provide schools with an influx in capital and more room in their budget, but is the risk really worth the reward? As of 2012, 9 out of 10 schools in the U.S. had integrated digital technology into their curriculum. Across America, programs such as Google Classroom, Canvas, and Blackboard Learn have been implemented, begging the question, does the use of digital technology in schools hinder students' social skills? A survey conducted by Common Sense Media in 2012 reported that a whopping 71% of teachers believe students' media use has hurt their attention span, while 59% believe it's hurt their face-to-face communication skills. The numbers don't lie. Due to the instant gratification and constant stimulation that technology provides, not only are the attention spans of students declining, but their trust in instructors are too. They'd rather Google something than ask their teacher a question, and they'd rather reply to a discussion post than raise their hand, creating a socially inept generation. A study conducted by UCLA in 2014 reported that children who went 5 days at an outdoor education camp without technology performed better at reading emotional cues than those who continued their use. If high school students don't go 5 minutes without using digital technology, how poor would their abilities to read social cues be? Patricia M. Greenfield, the senior author of the study and a psychology professor at UCLA, affirmed that the decreased sensitivity to emotional cues is one of the costs of digital media in education. Technology might provide students with a Googleplex of information, but it's proven to put a cap on their social skills. I guess that every rose has its thorns. Brian?
In social tendencies, technology has the dramatic impact of relinquishing verbal skills primarily in this age and generation. So really, the question is, how does relationships formed by electronics differ from relationships formed by one-on-one interactions? From the basis of the 2000s, Pew Internet and American Lifestyle Project by Paul Hitlin and Lee Rainey have reported a growth of 45% on internet usage over the span of 4 years. However, with the same studies conducted, there has been a report of 37 exposed to cheating by the student population. The mnemonic, WIFM, What's in it for me, corresponds to this matter as it exemplifies students' focus on personal gratification rather than bigger things, such as developing interpersonal relationships to those around them. Furthermore, by the analysis of the Anti-Defamation League by Abraham Foxman, he reported that there was fully 57% of teens ages 13 to 17 to have made a new friend online. Applications such as Snapchat, YouTube, Tumblr encourage these transactions of contact. By the same author, despite students obtaining the freedom for electronics, on the daily, only 25% of peers interact with one another in person. Guys, that's 1 out of every 4 of us that actually say hi and hello without the use of emojis. Nonverbal and verbal cues work hand in hand to demonstrate the overall effectiveness by these ambiguous standards. In the CommSpeech Communication textbook, it clarifies that in the continuum channel of communications, there is a high social presence in synchronous ways, face-to-face, Skyping, or FaceTiming, opposed to asynchronous ways, Facebook, Twitter, and emailing. Therefore, despite the increase on budget and economic stances towards education, there has been social hindrances plus the lack of improvement on test scores. Technology integrated in our school system has become a tool. Now, how we utilize and benefit it towards us depends on you, and it depends on me. What questions may you have? Thank you.
All right, guys, let me ask you some questions. Brian, we're going to start with you. What way do you think you benefited from other team members during this project?
I would have to say by our research with each another's lens, such as Scarlett's historical, Carolina's philosophical, and Adam's economical, we were able to conclude into a correct and precise conclusion that would overall give our presentation a successful outlook.
All right, thank you. Carolina, how did working as a group help you do your research?
Working as a group aided me in my research because it allowed me to look at things from kind of a different lens. After being exposed to both Brian's and Scarlett's positions that were both negative, it influenced me in kind of swaying me that way versus going Adam's way, which was pro.
All right. Scarlett, in the future, what would you change to this group style presentation, project, the next time you do this?
As in the way we present?
Yeah, everything. Like, what would you change in this whole project?
I think that before we actually present, I would change our deadlines, because I would rather have periodical check-ins rather than set dates that we should have things done, and maybe switch off between people rather than one person presenting and then the next, and then the next.
All right. And Adam, save the best for last. Describe to me how the content of your presentation changed as a result of you guys all talking about stuff.
Well, the way that the content of our presentation changed was that we all did our research individually, and that's how we generally wrote our research paper. But when we came together and we read through each other's research questions and our research papers, I was able to get a bigger and more broad understanding of the entire topic. So for example, my lens was the economic, where I was talking about mainly the pros of digital technology, but all of my other group members were talking about the cons, so that really opened my mind up to see that not only does digital technology, or not just that digital technology helps the school's economy, but since that it weakens the students' actual the way that they interact socially with other people, it has more negative aspects than it does positive.
All right, cool, thank you guys. Bree?